Welcome to a New Year's Eve edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside very, very cold Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, where I'm sure it's just as cold, if not colder. I don't know if you got any snow there, John Webster. How you doing there in the DMV?
Yeah, how you doing, man? How you doing? I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I hope everybody else had a wonderful Christmas as well. And before you even ask, Gary, yes, I made a pig out of myself. I ate everything I could until Kim told me to push away from the table. So I hope you had a wonderful Christmas as well. Uh, uh,
Wait, wait a minute, hold up. One correction. She pulled the table away from you. I never seen you push away from the table. I don't know how you stay so thin.
she requested that I push away, and you try to follow the instructions of a wife, especially when you got a wonderful wife. So
Okay.
I just had
And
to
you you you,
follow
you
follow
just
those
earned another
instructions.
night. You just saved yourself from the couch. Congratulations. Well done. Well
Hey
done.
man, speaking of weather, it's cold as I don't know what around here, man. Last week I was complaining it's cold. It's colder today than it was last week. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
And the wind is blowing out here. It's crazy, man. You know,
Yeah.
and then
But
you
but
know,
but Christmas, at least you had a warm Christmas. I think wasn't it like 60 degrees there like it was here in Kentucky?
oh yeah, yeah, but Christmas is gone now, Gary. I'm cold. I'm cold.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But I mean, at least you had a respite before the real cold came.
And it's ridiculous, man. Then they decide today, well, let's have lunch out today, John, and I got to be the one to go pick it up. Man, it's cold out there, man.
At least well, your food might have been cold, but you got a microwave there in the office, right?
Yeah, mess around, won't nobody get anything. It's that cold. I ain't want to go out there, man.
I understand. I understand, man. But hey, look, as cold as it is outside, sports is warming up. So that,
Man,
you
sports
know,
is warming up. We're gonna talk about some NFL football, and then we're gonna talk about the college football playoffs. First, we'll do our normal with the NFC East, and then we're going to broaden our horizons. We'll start off with the Giants, and we'll say the Giants won, but they still lose. A wonderful organization. You go and win the game, and now you don't have the first pick in the NFL draft. Okay, that's one. That's enough being said about the Giants. Next one, Eagles won a slobber knocker against the Buffalo Bills, 13-12. Man. That was a fighting game, man. Did you see that game?
yes, indeed, that one, yeah, yeah, a slobber knocker. I'm trying to remember the great Willie Jeffries used to talk about games like that, and I didn't know what he meant, but let's see. Well, that one defined it. I mean, it was smash mouth football. That's just the way you like it, low
And Gary, guess
scoring,
what?
defensive, all that
Guess
stuff.
what? Guess what, Gary? What
What's
you
that?
and Dante get on me about? It was outdoors. It was raining. It was snowing, and
Hmm.
I was so happy. I was happy as a pig in slop in Salisbury, man.
Hey,
It was
man,
it
I
was
I
beautiful.
love games like that because I'm like you, man. Indoor football does nothing for me. Yeah, it's decent in one sense, but again, there's nothing like football being played in the elements.
And I loved every minute of it. Um, Buffalo, the kicker missed the first extra point, so they went for that two at the end to try to win the game. Would you play for the tie, Gary, or would you done the same thing, just try to win it in regulation?
I thought about that when they got the touchdown. My first thought was kick the extra point, go to overtime. You're playing at home. You have a chance. It's like if you win the toss, well, no matter what. If you win the toss, you go on defense. The way that defense was playing, you figured you'd get the ball back at some point without giving up a touchdown. But I can't fault McDermott for going for the win on that one. And it's one of the rare times I think I've seen Josh Allen throw just a really bad pass. I mean, other than ones that, intercepted, it was like he had the guy and it was just a little low and outside. And I never thought I would see that, but it just showed he's human. And it also demonstrated to me how even I'll say the NFL is becoming now. Like in each conference, I think we know who the number one seeds already are, but the league is so balanced right now. The playoff, those that have qualified, I could see any one of those teams ending up in what is it, Santa Clara at the Super Bowl, just because. Again, as Willie Jeffries of Howard University fame back in the day used to say, you can throw a blanket over the entire field.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He has some great sayings as well as some great teams at Howard and South Carolina State. Was a wonderful coach, man. Absolutely one of the best, man.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah,
best.
but he was the first one to use the term slobber knocker that I can recall back early in my career, and I always thought that was an apropos term to describe the game of football. Smack, punch you in the mouth and all that stuff.
Now, with the Eagles finishing up, winning the NFC East, we have two more teams to talk about. The Cowboys beat the Commanders. What saith you, Gary Graves?
2026 is but 2 days away. That's all that's all I can say for both teams. But okay, honestly, I will say this. The Cowboys did not make the playoffs, but I feel good about where they're headed now. In some ways that trade probably worked out for them in terms of chemistry and really like it renewed my faith in Dak Prescott as a quarterback. Granted, they were playing the Commanders, and you know, I don't know. You thought we both thought that they would be better with a worse record, but we didn't expect it to be this worse. I'm not sure if they took two steps backward this season from last year. You can argue about the injuries, and yes, that was a huge factor. But you said it earlier this season. They're an old team. They had a chance with the injuries to work in younger players, maybe try to salvage a couple of wins or something, maybe even stay in a playoff hunt. But you stuck with these old guys, and then they started to get, more of them started to get hurt, and I really don't know what to judge of this team right now, where they are going into next year. They I don't know. I could say that they're a mess, but I don't know if I can say that either because it's hard to judge when your veterans, the ones that you counted on, aren't on the field. I would feel much better if they had used some of the younger guys, but I think about the fact like guys like Brian Robinson are playing for the 49ers who are in the playoffs. Trent Williams, former commander at one time. He's been in San Francisco for a while, but there are a lot of what might have been players that are playing elsewhere, and I think I heard them say that Williams was something like an 11-time Pro Bowler. I mean, John, that gets you in the Hall of Fame, pretty much, shouldn't it? Unless, of course, you're Joe Jacoby, who keeps being overlooked for reasons that are mystifying to me, but that's another show.
I think Trent Williams, when he got away from the Commanders, and it came at a time when they were going through a disagreement, if I remember correctly,
Hmm.
over an injury. I think that's one of the moves that the Commanders made or did not make that had a lasting effect upon the organization. A left tackle, your blindside tackle, does not always walk in your front door, your back door, your side door, any other door. So when you don't have someone of his stature, and you look at once Trent left, who were the left tackles?
Mm-hmm.
They had as many left tackles in some sense as they did quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. I think now with getting
Laramie
Tunsil,
Tunsil. Yeah.
Laramie Tunsil, I think it's probably the most solid left tackle they've had in really since Trent Williams. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it hurts. You look at Brian Robinson. Not only is Brian Robinson on the team in San Francisco, he's producing, man. He's doing a great job. He's giving relief to McCaffrey and being a positive relief. Last year, he had some struggles with fumbling. Remember, I said last year after he fumbled, I don't think he ever regained his confidence or his comfortability in the offense anymore after that. I think he was concentrating too much on not fumbling. But I'm
Yeah.
happy for him.
It does get in your head,
Yeah.
and I do think that it it jeopardizes the coaching staff's confidence in you to to run the ball, hold on to the ball in situations like that. You can look up the road at some of Derrick Henry's struggles this season with Baltimore, and kind of think the same thing. And we're talking about Derrick Henry, who's a probable Hall of Famer as well. But hey, Brian Robinson is making it work out there. He's sometimes this is what I'll say, that in the case of Williams and Robinson, that a new scenery, change of scenery can do wonders for you. Trent Williams has thrived out there for several seasons now. You're seeing Robinson, you'll find himself again out there, and another player who is on a non-playoff team, Chase Young. Remember that name? You
He
know,
had a he had a strip fumble
yeah,
touchdown on
it,
Sunday, man, and
yeah, for
I'm
New
happy for him
Orleans,
too
yeah.
because he had a knee injury. He fought to get back, and he's doing okay in New Orleans, man. I'm happy for the kid, man. I just hope he continues to play well. I hope New Orleans gets to be a better team, from a won and loss record, but we'll see. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you bring up some interesting points about San Francisco, and it's a nice segue into the fact that San Francisco is playing Seattle Sunday afternoon, and that's, if I'm not mistaken, Gary, that's a winner take all, isn't it?
Oh
For
yeah,
first
yeah,
place,
for the NFC West, and um
and
you know,
also home field advantage too, right?
yep, home field advantage to the playoffs. Good, yeah, good point. I think the thing about San Francisco that has really surprised me again, that was a team that I think I'll say, let's go back 3 weeks. We thought that we felt like they were going to be in the playoffs, but we weren't sure whether they were going to be division champions or a wild card. I really thought they'd be a wild card team, but again, you're talking about a division with three teams with at least 10 wins. So we know three teams from that division are in the playoffs, but we just don't know which of the top two between San Francisco and Seattle is going to be the NFC West champion. And the NFC West champion pretty much has a chance to run the table. And as we've seen, John, home field advantage makes a big difference in the playoffs. And if you're San Francisco, you have a chance to not go on the road at all in the postseason since your stadium is hosting the Super Bowl. Think about that.
It's going to be interesting, but they got a large order in front of them to make that happen. Seattle is tough. They're playing well. Mike McDonald is a wonderful coach, doing a really good job with them. So we'll see what's going to happen. I like San Francisco. I'm hoping they can pull it out, but I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure. We'll see how that goes. Sam Darnold having another great season there, And what's the receiver's name there? Is that Smith and Gooper, the wide receiver from Seattle?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
another
that
guy from
sounds right. Don't get me to
it's
lie when
another
it comes to names.
it's another one of those Ohio State receivers. I mean, Ohio State has receivers all the time coming into the pros. So,
Hmm.
we'll see how that plays out, man. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be fairly high scoring as well. But I'm hoping San Francisco can come out on top. You got another one coming up there with Carolina and Tampa Bay. I don't know what has happened to Tampa Bay. They were 6-2. I guess that was about 2 or 3 years ago, or before I started growing this beard. But now they are what 7-9.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Gary?
I wish I could really, well, okay. I can tell you one reason why they've struggled this year. And it's because their former offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, is across the state in Jacksonville. And look at the way he's revived Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Etienne. I think that's a huge difference for Tampa Bay to not have him. And as much as I love Baker Mayfield and the resurgence that he's had in Tampa Bay, he's not the same quarterback, but he doesn't have the same kind of offense to run that really tapped into his skills. I think a lot of times they have had to rely too much on his feet and his arm when when I think when he was being protected, he was an effective quarterback, and then he would run only when he had to. That offensive line has struggled to protect him. He's been on the move a lot more than he's wanted to. And I think the other thing about Tampa Bay that's really surprised me is that defense is it before they were vulnerable. Now they're suspect. Or I'll even go a step further. They're susceptible as opposed to suspect. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference there. Um, I think the story here really is Carolina. That's a team, John. How many of us would have expected the Carolina Panthers and all the stuff about whether Bryce Young was the right, or excuse me, was the wrong pick in the NFL draft as the number one guy, and he's got them on the edge of a playoff berth. Excuse me, not a playoff berth, but a division title. Who cares if they go in at 9-8? That's the achievement is the thing that they're there. It isn't just that they made progress with him, is that they've made progress and they look like a team that could win a division. And of course, if you have a team like that everybody is overlooked, that's the team that has something to prove and can be the most dangerous when you get to the playoffs.
Carolina's a surprise team this year in the NFL. The coach there, Canales. I think that's another guy who was in Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken, Gary. I think he
Yeah,
wasn't he the offensive coordinator there too?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so he's got it turned around. They're playing good ball. Bryce Young is, playing very steady at quarterback. I'm just still surprised Tampa Bay has floundered the way they have. We'll see how this plays out. You know, just think though, if Tampa Bay wins, they're 8-9, and then Carolina's 8-9, and then if Atlanta wins, they're 8-9, a three-way tie.
Hmm.
Carolina gets the tie, if I'm not mistaken, but you have a team going into the playoffs at 8-9. Haven't seen that since
The
Seattle
command.
went into the playoffs and they were 7-9, and Marshawn Lynch ran over the whole New Orleans Saints team. Remember that for a touchdown? He broke
Oh yeah,
11
yeah.
tackles.
Yeah, didn't the Commanders win a division with a losing record a few years back?
Well, I guess we digress to that.
Yeah, but so I
Uh,
mean,
I,
again,
Jerry, I was trying to move off a segment about the Commanders, but okay,
No,
fine, yes.
it's not so much about the Commanders. It's just about a losing team getting into the playoffs. And of course, the purist in us, the sports purist in us saying no team with a losing record should be in the playoffs. But hey, you play your schedule. Yes, your record, say, yeah, your record, what you are, what your record says you are. But
Gary, you know what though? I can, I think I can deal with you being in the playoffs at 8 and 9. I just, I'm not sure I can deal with you in the playoffs 8 and 9 and having a home game when you're hosting somebody that's 12 and 5.
Yeah, that's but that's why they call it wild card weekend, because that's a wild scenario that a losing division champion could end up hosting a playoff game. Now, having said that, let's just hope that doesn't happen and that Carolina does what it needs to do to win that division and really, take one of the best NFC stories into the playoffs. For a team that has just been down for a number of years, and again, nobody thought that they'd be in this position after drafting Bryce Young, who again, how do you how do you overlook a Heisman Trophy winner and think that he can't be something, especially here in recent years? Because let's just look at the last few Heisman Trophy winners, for example. Okay, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. I'm trying to think of another one. Gosh, it was right on the tip of my tongue. Well, yeah, Bryce Young. There's probably another one that I'm missing in there. All of these guys, in one way or another, have carried their teams to the playoffs. So you have to figure these guys have something that, yes, the college game is much different than the NFL game, but you have to figure something that made them college football's best player would translate into the league. Yes, those holes close up faster if you're a running back in the league. Yes, you have milliseconds to throw the ball into the right place in the league. But at some point, you kind of figured it out. And maybe in Bryce Young's case, he's had a few years to kind of figure it out. Yes, he's taken some bumps and bruises along the way, the same as Baker Mayfield. And not just physical bruises, but in terms of that learning curve. But they've at least gotten their teams to the playoffs, and well, at least in Bryce Young's case, he's gotten his team to the brink of a playoff berth. But even at 8-8, that's an impressive improvement from last year, and considering where that team was just 2 seasons ago.
I agree. I agree. It's going to be an exciting game. We'll see how this thing plays out. But there's one more game. It's the last game of the NFL regular season. It's the last game of Sunday, and it's the Sunday night game. Another winner take all. Ravens, Steelers.
Well, John, I'll say this, that um, I think it favors Pittsburgh because they're hosting, and because we've seen Aaron Rodgers resurrect his career and his reputation in Pittsburgh. Now, having watched the game on Sunday with Cleveland, I don't know if you got it there in the DMV.
Really did.
Yeah, but the thing that really stood out was Cleveland's defense. I mean, you could say whatever about Shadua Sanders and the offense, and yes, it was more a matter of missed opportunities with them. But that defense that just kept shutting down. I mean, how many teams keep that you can think of that can keep Pittsburgh out of the end zone, that have kept Pittsburgh out of the end zone and left them with field goals. I really can't. I mean, you really have to look. In fact, that was one of those games where I meant to go online and look at the post game notes just to see when was the last time Pittsburgh was didn't score a touchdown. And that, you might have to go back a few years on it unless it's like, say, a complete shutout. But that was impressive. My point about that is that Cleveland's defense, I keep thinking about Myles Garrett, and yes, he's getting paid there, and yes, he is probably the best defensive player in the NFL, bar none. I will go out on a limb and say that. Maybe it's a short limb to say it, but I couldn't help but think if you're Myles Garrett, can you wonder how much better your career might be playing somewhere else other than Cleveland because that dude is just a force. And between the pressure that he put on Rodgers, between the coverage that they had, the coverage schemes that they had against those receivers. Yes, Pittsburgh didn't have DK Metcalf. They won't have him in this game, but still, that defense was just ridiculous. And I think that was what that was a Cleveland home game. So even at that, you're still talking about a team that went in 3-12 and shut Pittsburgh down.
It was a That's another slobber knocker. It was very defensive oriented, um,
And it was cold.
and it was raining. It was
Yeah.
both. I loved it. I was at home, but
Hmm.
this week, with Pittsburgh, Baltimore's defense is definitely not as good as Cleveland's, in my opinion. I think Baltimore's defense has spurts. They find different things to do, but I think Cleveland's defense is better. But I think Pittsburgh is going to have a hard time because they're missing
Yeah.
their
No
tight end
sweet.
Darnell Washington. They're
Yeah. And
missing
we
Metcalf.
Metcalf. Yeah.
They're missing another receiver too. They brought in Thiemann, and then they brought in somebody else. But they just can't get the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Now, if I am Baltimore,
I know
if
what
I
you.
happen to be on that coach and being able to coach for just one game, Gary, there's only one thing I'm going to do that whole game. I'm going to give that ball to number 22 each and every time. He's going to have
Yep.
25 to 30 carries.
He has to. He
Yes,
has
sir.
to. What he did at Green Bay was just sick. Um, up there. uh, Again, he ran with a purpose. And I guess after not getting the ball in the fourth quarter of a winnable game against New England, that he went in there with a purpose and a vengeance, and somebody on the coaching staff, listened to all, had to have listened to all the criticism about not using him and just said, look, we're going to use Derrick Henry early and often and try and stop us. Pittsburgh has to prove that they can stop him. That's going to be difficult, but because of what you said about Baltimore's defense, I really am skeptical about what they can do to shut down Aaron Rodgers or limit Aaron Rodgers on his home turf. Because one thing I will say about him is that he this year he has been resilient. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. He has been resilient. And because of that, I think you have to consider Pittsburgh the favorite in a game like that. And it the difference will really come down to the playmakers. Obviously turnovers, that's going to be a big thing, especially in an environment like that. But you have to rely on your playmakers to win that game for you. And playing at home, I would give the early advantage to Aaron Rodgers just because he has just been resilient and he has found a way to get it done more often than not this year, even if it hasn't always been pretty.
Totally agree, Gary. Well, let me back up. I'm not sure what I think. I want Baltimore to win. I want Baltimore to win, but I'm just not. I don't know. I just that defense is so shaky, and Aaron Rodgers, you know, all the marbles, but he's not playing with the receivers. I'll go with Baltimore, Gary. I'll go with
Okay.
Baltimore. I think they can find a way. That defense is very shaky, though, Gary. Oh my God, their defense
Yeah,
is
it
shaky.
is. One thing about that game, I will say, the loser of that game has a lot of soul searching to do, and you have to decide, do you stick with this or do you start to blow it up? And if you're Baltimore, that window is probably, if they make the playoffs, this is probably their last best window as constructed. If they don't make the playoffs, I think you have to look from top to bottom. Maybe send Jackson to another team, as inconceivable as that might be. And John, you might have to start thinking about a new person in charge there. Now, if you're Pittsburgh, kind of the same thing, and it more or less starts with Tomlin on the staff. We've already questioned this year, and when I say we, I'm talking about the general public has questioned his future there. And I never thought I would say that. I can't even remember when it was he came on. It's been, something like what, 18, 19 years at least.
Him and
So
Harbaugh are the longest tenured coaches, and they both have 18 years.
18 years. So you can't keep hoping that they will catch fire year after year after year. You talked about Baltimore's defense. Um, with Pittsburgh, you've got a 40-something-year-old quarterback there, and something has to be done. You can't rely on getting to the playoffs with, again, with an aging quarterback, and maybe in Baltimore, a quarterback who has now, shown himself to be injury prone, and think you're going to get to a Super Bowl that way. You got to think about a new way forward, and it might involve new leadership, maybe both organizations.
We'll see, Gary. Let's do something real quick, man. Then we're gonna have to wrap up. Real quick. Alabama, Indiana. Has anything changed in your mind?
Nope, I'm still looking at Alabama because they've been there. Yes, this is Indiana's second year there, but Indiana has to prove in the Rose Bowl that they are that team. And again, Alabama can go on the road. Alabama is still Alabama, even with a second year coach.
Anything changed in your mind about Ohio State and Miami?
I'm still going with the Buckeyes.
Okay. How about Ole Miss and Georgia?
Still sticking with Georgia.
Last but not least, Oregon, Texas Tech.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said about that one. I think I took Oregon, and I think you took
Mhm.
Texas Tech. So, John, I'm going to stick with that. Stick with Oregon.
All right, man. Go ahead and take us home, Gary.
Okay, well, as John just mentioned, we've got New Year's Day and before bowl games, playoff games. Let's see, we've got, well, as we talked about the NFL um, winner take all games coming up. So you've got that. You've got the Winter Classic in the NHL, coming up. So yeah, there's a lot to choose from. And the last time I checked, there was probably about 4 or 5 NBA games on New Year's Day that that probably have some kind of bearing on something. It's like this TV deal, they're all over the place. So, any given day, there's at least 4 games on. So watch those games, but really watch those games and come back and hear us talk about it. Watch us on Facebook. Watch us on YouTube. If you have an email address, we can email you a link. Come on back and see us. John, say goodbye to 2025.
Hey, Gary. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate y'all for watching us again this week. As Gary said, watch some football, watch the NFL, watch some college football, watch not only the college football playoffs, but watch the bowl games. NHL is heating up. Watch the Winter Classic. Watch some other hockey games. Soccer is heating up as well right now. NBA basketball, college basketball, men's and women's. But above all else, just watch some sports and come and see us. And Happy New Year to everybody. See you next year. Take care.